Welcome to Astoria Film Festival Presents, our weekly half-hour program highlighting our films, filmmakers, events, and the local community. Today, in honor of Black History Month, we're focusing on our filmmakers of color, including Croesus Ecelugich, Dario Mohr of the Ahnklave Arts Alliance, and the cast and crew of Gallery. And what inspired you to make that film?
It was actually a school project, so I just did it in like a week. My wife.
Oh wow!
It was just a project for school, so I just did it.
What school? What course is it?
Oh, it was New York Film Academy.
Oh, cool.
I had acting for film.
Yes.
1 year conservatory program.
That's great. How have you liked that? Are you done with it?
Yeah, I'm done with it. I graduated September 11th. Yeah.
There's a date.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, you know. So yeah, but for me, it was like I like to do more with less. You know, it's just I like to just try to always, work something where somebody might think is impossible to do. You know, I try to push with that idea, like, oh, I'm going to change. You know, whatever they can do, I'm going to do it in my way. So if you Google me, like whatever you see, I have my hands on. I put it out there, from music to film to clothing. You know, I just do everything because it also saves you money if you know how to wear a lot of hats. You know, you're the boom guy if you know how to set up the mic right there and the cameras right. You know how to edit. You know, you just got to know everything or a little bit of everything enough. Transform, like, you know, you got to know how to go from 1 to 9 in a split second. Because if somebody don't show up, your film is going to wait for that person tomorrow, next week. No, everybody changed the platform of video or video content. Like everything changed because of COVID. You know.
Yeah.
Even interview stuff like this changed. You know. So.
Yeah. No, the fact that this was not a legitimate form of interview in the past is just, kind of discriminatory, right? Because then you would have to rent a space. You would have to rent all the equipment. Whereas, honestly, these have been fine. Like, I don't understand. As someone who's worked in like digital and virtual for like the past 20 years, like this capability has been out there for 20 years, and it's more the mentality that's been in the way, right? People's minds.
I guess we needed a push, a real hard push to get.
I mean, did we have to wait for a pandemic?
No, forgive me, God. I didn't mean that.
No, but you're right. You're right.
So, after the military, because I was in the military, I retired from the military, and then I decided to just, go with the arts, like everything with arts, So this is where I'm at this point in my life. we trademark, still get paid. It's a clothing brand, so I still get paid. I have had somewhere. And this is one of my polos that I actually made.
Oh, nice.
The logo. So 2-button polo, 100% cotton. Have the website, ecelugich.com, ECELUGICH.com.
So this film you made during quarantine and using your wife, kind of a one-man team.
Yes.
How is that? You did everything behind the scenes?
I did everything except the acting. Did
And how did the idea of it come to you, like the storyline? So what do you have going on now that you're going to work on next? Anything in film?
Yeah.
If you're doing other stuff you want to talk about, whatever.
Yeah, I'm doing a film which I'm starring in, and I'm also filming myself. It's called The Priest, and I'm doing this other project. It's called Twin Brothers. I'm filming that as well.
And your clothing line? How can people find your clothes?
Just ecelugich.com or pop up to the pop-up shop every day on Dyer Avenue is the last stop on the 5 train uptown.
Very cool. Well, anything else you want to say before we wrap up? Anything you want to promote? Feel free.
Guys, for having me, even considering me in this point in my life, because anything is possible with God. So you know, thank you guys for having me.
No,
Hey, how are you, Dario?
good. How are you?
Good, good. How's everything?
I'm doing great. I'm very grateful and excited to speak with you today.
Same, same. Today was the exhibit in the garden, no? Like the farm.
Yesterday was.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm all confused about days at this point.
We were excited to be able to have it because that was the initial intention of the project, but due to COVID, we had to film it. And I think just in general, it was cool because we managed to get a film out of it and also still be able to do the programming after the fact. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think it's forced us to like think out of the box. And so, I mean, we're doing much more than we've done in the past. We have the online, you know, we're joining forces with Queens Public Television, you know, like things we wouldn't have done because, you know, the Zucker's lovely and you just do that and you're fine. But now it's like, okay, we need to have little groups in many different places, and then you actually involve the community a lot more in that way. So I don't know, it's been kind of interesting to see how this has pushed the envelope, if you will, you know.
Yeah, it's been exactly the same perspective for me. Like just ways to be able to reach out to the community, and even after COVID, we may continue, you know, trying to, you know,
Yes.
film and put it out there in a different way to reach people who maybe can't actually come on site to see the installations and art talks in person. So.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, in terms of accessibility for anyone, people who just can't get there, people who are ill, people who are disabled, you know, it's, they always had this problem, right? But now that everybody else has it, now we're finally waking up to how we can accommodate. But
Exactly.
it's, I think everybody thought, oh, well, you know, you kind of think in your box. You're like, well, I have my theater, I'm doing okay, I'm doing my thing. And then you're like, wait a minute, this could be a community outreach type situation instead. And that just seems a lot more fulfilling. But anyway.
So is Astoria Film Festival planning to do it online or have a virtual in tandem to the in-person from now on? Or
I mean, why not, honestly? It makes sense. I know I'd love, there's many things I'd love to go to, but I can't get to because I'm a mom and, you know, we've been homeschooling before COVID. So like, you know, my time is very used up. So, so yeah, I mean, I think it was like painful to figure out how to do it. But then once you see how everybody else is doing it and you put your own ideas together, it's like, oh, this isn't so hard. You know, we could do this every year easily. So
exactly. We weren't forced to actually see that it wasn't so hard until we had to do it.
yes. Yes. And I feel badly because I should have, right? Like, but I didn't. So trying to be better.
We're
That's
all
we
busy
can do.
bees, like, you know, running around with our heads cut off, trying to catch up with things. So, you know.
Yes. Yes. So speaking of, how did it all come about to put it in the garden? Was it originally going to be in the garden, or where was the exhibit originally going to happen?
Honestly, we piloted this last year in collaboration with the Manhattan Land Trust. So we actually used the Parque de Tranquilidad in the East Village.
Mm-hmm.
We used a garden there that was a community garden for our 6 artist fellows, the Ahnklave Garden Project fellows of 2019, to showcase different demonstrations there. And initially they were going to create, each month was dedicated to a different artist of color to be able to speak about their work and, you know, create an on-the-spot installation, or, you know, some artists even created a tour where they actually led us around to speak about each piece individually and talk about like the exhibit as a whole that would be on view. And that was a really cool project and idea. And we wanted to, you know, take that into a larger space. So I was actually a friend of mine, Joshua Wolf's sister, who I'm also friendly with. She actually works at the Queens Botanical Gardens. We just reached out to her, and I told her about the idea for, you know, an enclave. I told her about, you know, the organizational goals for this and everything, and she really believed in it. And she reached out to people that she works with, and we managed to be able to pull it off this year despite COVID. So, you know, we're pretty excited and proud that it's managed to happen in the midst of the Queens Botanical Gardens closing because of quarantine restrictions and so many other uncertainties.
I think it made sense for them too to have actual things going on during a time where they're trying to, you know, people were like, oh, you seem to be active. And I'm like, I'm just trying to keep a presence going so that you don't forget about us, right? Like that's
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I assume they were grateful too for that.
I wanted to be able to, I mean, I was really grateful that they, you know, saw, they believed in our project to begin with. And I wanted them to be able to also, you know, I wanted it to be able to be shown in such a big way anyway. So it really just made sense for me to, you know, film it. And we even live streamed it as well. So, you know, we had on the day of for their installations and artist talks, we live streamed those parts, but then we also filmed it and then edited it. And, you know, we've just been like promoting it. We've been collaborating with the Queens Botanical Gardens to really promote it. And we got some features like in Time Out magazine, New York Latin Culture magazine did a review on the exhibition.
That's great.
And a lot of other, you know, New York City Go highlighted us. So we've been able to get a lot of good publicity for it. And I think part of that is due to just us thinking beyond quarantine restrictions and ways to be able to get people interested in seeing a public art exhibit during quarantine. It being one of the only exhibitions open to the public through quarantine, I think was part of the draw for it as well.
Can you tell us more about the Ahnklave? Am I saying it right?
Ahnklave. So it's like enclave, the word, E-N-C-L-A-V-E, but it's spelled like A-N-K-H-L-A-V-E.
And what does the A-N-K-H symbolize?
The Ankh, you know, I just always appreciated what the Ankh meant, and I thought that it would be a good, funny play on words, and it just kind of stuck. I mean, you know, initially I was like, is it going to seem silly or, you know, but people seem to, you know, like the name, so it stuck. And yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, we just wanted to be able to showcase more artists of color in spaces, particularly community spaces where a lot of other people of color may feel comfortable coming to, especially because, I mean, there's been a lot of push for more Black, Indigenous, people of color showcased in like contemporary art galleries and things like that, and just be, you know, more inclusivity in those spaces. But I also feel like it's important to bring the art to the spaces where people of color may already come to. And I feel like the community garden spaces and also the Queens Botanical Garden, I mean, there's so many different communities living there, Asian, Chinese, Japanese, of course, Caribbean, African-American, different Latino populations,
Everybody, it's
Indian.
peace.
Yeah, exactly. So I just felt like it would be a great space to be able to host this year's Ahnklave Garden project. So we're very fortunate.
And what are you working on now? Kind of like what's Ahnklave up to these days?
So we did our final closing tour where the artists were actually able to come on site finally and speak to the public about their work. So they managed to do their artist talks that we initially intended to do before COVID started. They managed to do it yesterday. So now we're thinking about just promoting the documentary. We have the trailer we're going to start putting out there next month, and we're going to start just you know, releasing some more vlogs and things like that of the artists talking candidly about their work. And yeah, I mean, next year we're going to do the Ahnklave Garden Project again, you know, and we're going to have a new crop of artists, 6 artists who are going to be showcasing in, you know, community garden space. So we're just going to continue promoting it, and hopefully it just continues to develop into a larger thing.
So how did you start the Ahnklave? Like when did you start it? How did you start?
So I started, so I'm an artist myself, and I began doing a lot of art exhibits in Buffalo, New York, where I was living. And I realized early on, like I was, you know, really interested in exhibiting, and, you know, I was the youngest person in the scene, and I was also like the only Black person. So I realized that it was hard to be able to get like an audience to want to come to like a one-man show of mine and things like that. So I started incorporating other artists and things, also because I was just interested in like some of the art that my friends were doing. They were interested in, like, some were musicians, some were dancers, some had other different performance backgrounds. So I started incorporating them into my one-man shows. And then I started, I was interested in doing like an open mic night just to highlight some of the artists that I knew. And they were like artists of color, and, you know, and it was cool because it was like the first like space that I'd really seen where just a lot of new people were coming in, and, you know, like the first open mic we decided to continue like for like as a monthly show. It was actually a one-man show that I had at this space, and she said, you know what, keep the work up and just keep doing this every month. I love it. So we did for like about 6 months, and then I moved actually to New York City eventually. But that just motivated me to be able to continue creating those spaces, because I didn't see those spaces where I was living at the time. And I thought it was just very important to continue I was just generally interested to see what art other people are making, and to continue to just create that space. So that's where Ahnklave began. And from there, I mean, we started off doing a lot of, we did like some New York Fashion Week shows. We did, we really just tried to do a lot of different types of shows that would showcase different types of talent. And I think now we're really focusing on art in public spaces because it's accessible to all communities. And it's just, I think it's also a challenge for artists to continue creating in an outdoor space, because we're used to creating in like a white walled space, which is like a vacuum.
Yeah.
And like when you're forced to be in a space where there's so many different colors and smells and textures, that can also influence the work that you're creating. It's interesting to see what will come out. We really just wanted them to be able to have a lot of freedom to decide how they wanted to present their work in the garden. So they chose their spaces over Zoom. I mean, we actually, a week before we were supposed to go on person, they were supposed to select their spaces. They closed down the garden, so then we had to do it through Zoom. So, within an hour Zoom call, they decided where they wanted their spaces to be. And when they showed up the day of, they installed it. And it was really great, because they all seemed super happy with where they selected. They seemed like they knew they had a great idea of what they wanted to create beforehand. And yeah, I mean, they were ready. I need to shout out the artists as well. Like, I definitely, I have to give some props to each of them for, coming through and believing in the project despite all of the different changes that we needed to implement to be able to follow through on it. So yeah, thank you to Cecilia Andre. Thank you to Natalie Bravo Barbie. Thank you, Asano Agari Gomez. Thank you, Christine Sloan Stoddard. Thank you, Mariana Tonini Villas Boas. And thank you to Kaio Shido for enabling this to happen. It wouldn't have been possible without the Ahnklave Garden Project Fellows. And this also wouldn't have been possible without the help of the Queens Botanical Garden Project, specifically Dylan, Rebecca, and Anne. Like, you three have been fantastic in helping us do this. And also my good friend Josh, so.
Awesome. And where can people find you and your work, websites, or what's your website address?
Sure.
What's your IG handle, that kind of stuff?
So once again, it's pronounced Ahnklave, but it's spelled Ankhlave. So www.ahnklave.org. You could also follow us on Instagram at Ahnklave, Ankhlave. You could also check us out. We have a page on Facebook, Ahnklave Arts Alliance. And YouTube, we're going to be promoting some, and Vimeo. Just type in Ahnklave as well.
Hi, I'm Jidobi Chime, and I'm from Harlem.
I'm Noah Schwartz, and I'm from Midtown.
I'm Lola Kenet, I'm from the West Village.
I'm Nile Garcia, and I'm also from Harlem.
Me, Nile, and Noah currently run a production collective called Stories Are Us that focuses on multimedia arts centered around filmmaking.
And as a collective, Gallery is our latest film. Due to the mental isolation brought on by the quarantine, we were forced to reconsider the way in which we go about making a film and working together as a collective.
It was challenging at first because we were essentially making a movie in 3 parts and had to find a way to tie it together and still have a central message come across. So through using the tunnel footage, we were able to create this metaphor for quarantine, this period of isolation that we are all going through together, even though we're separate.
Ending of 2017, I was in like this program called Measles, where it's like a documentary development program for young teens. It was like my first exposure into like film. I slowly transcended into, the medium of filmmaking. I then went to GFS, and GFS is kind of the most extensive program that I've been a part of, and probably where I've kind of grown as a filmmaker the most.
I have been making short films since 7th grade. I've just been making more stuff and becoming more interested in a career in film. I did a few different programs, Ghetto Film School, and now I'm at Boston University and I'm a film major there.
So, I've been into storytelling since I was a kid. I've always enjoyed, making different shorts. And it wasn't until I was 13 going on 14 that I entered into a film program where I got to direct my first short. And from then on, I joined different film programs like the Ghetto Film School, where I also think I grew the most as a filmmaker and truly learned about what filmmaking was and what it means to me.
We really hope you enjoy the film. You can find our website right here, our Instagram right here, and Lola's Instagram right here. Thank you.
Okay,
Cool.
that's good.
Good job. That was the best one yet.
I hope the future is bright, growing more and more numb each day, watching things decay. This distance causes me so much dismay. So I wash my palms, I wash it away. It's fading away, I'm staying away. And the words I say, they do me no good. I hope to be free from hoping. It's obvious, I'm not the best at coping, but you won't catch me moping, unless you're my mirror, watching me stuck, sitting still, locked and confined within a tomb. Some ask for honesty, I deliver truth. I've been trying to heal since I left the womb. My wounds are my own, I haven't always known, thinking that others can atone. All pain starts at the beginning. It starts at home. I hope. Can I tell you a secret? I hope I grow old. I hope I die peacefully. I'll give you the rest of me. Remember the best of me. I hope you die next to me, and I leave a piece of me in those I hold dear to me. I hope they have peace with me. Peace means a lot to me. I confess that so obviously. Peace is in poverty. Life is a lottery. I hope we live peacefully, and remember this easily. We are a moment found within history.
I hope this finds you well. I can't find my glasses. I must have left them on the A train, or in the shadow of my last turnstile swipe. 2 circles of glass let me see clearly. I wish sorting through the rest of these shards was that easy. I see now if I breathe in too hard, these walls will cave in, collapse like a lung, thirsty for air, collide with the echoes absent from street corners. I can't read my watch, the one that I bought for myself, in my head, when I stuck to the schedule day in and day out. Now I stumble and squint at paper prints of celluloid faces, traces of clapped slates, actors done up with powder, hung with a nail on my wall. Nearsighted, they keep me company for now, although they look closer to human than ever. My friends, too, have been flattened, a transmission on a 4x6 screen, a tragedy in 2D. I can't find my glasses, and each corner of my room is an endless expanse calling out with tense murmurs. I can't quite decode its feelings unknown. This kind of unknowing is one that I crave, stops my gears from grinding naive plans to dust. A blindness that melts the strongest of trees. To drops of water I can swallow and trust. Surf the waves they form on a few lines of code. The riptide makes my heart drop and reminds me it's beating. But soon I'll remember corners meet at a dead end, and the kind of unknowing that wails from the crevice is not one of freedom from the burden of choice, but the absence of a future for thoughts to escape to. The sun doesn't lure me to sleep every night. These curtains breed comfort that tires me out. These leaky windows grow damper by the hour. Cut from my roots, I shrivel like a flower. A curb for lovers to wait on 3 steps past my window. I try to look out, but few lashes flitter back at me. They are caught up, choked up by the news. I've fallen into shadowland, the sun a rock behind me, casting darkness and obscurity, a puppet show in 2D. I don't like what's in front of me. I don't know what's to come of me, but I'll keep walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Save me, sweet chaos. This stillness
is a bore.
Is a bore. Is a bore. Is a bore.
Is a bore.
Had a glimpse of memories, dim, up to the brim like my lack of energy. Mentally, limbs feel broken, but I haven't lost my empathy. Looking for a picture to paint, strained to the crib, you know what nostalgia it is. I once loved is the nostalgia I often dismiss. Pissed with feeling continuation. When is it gonna end? My friends are patiently waiting. Like what bends will officially break. Like what stems from pictures on page is what amends feelings led astray. Like what else is there really to say? My point's made.
Oh God, who is calling me right now? Who is calling me? There's still a single fucking time, bro. Who is this? The fuck is calling me?